I'm going to go over some cool ideas of creating new audiences to test and to scale proven audiences. The question came in, and we're going to review, of course, some basic filtering in terms of exclusion audiences, our findings and insights using those exclusion audiences. And then what we're going to do at the end of the video is I'm going to show you what Facebook calls an advanced custom audience and how you can create essentially stacking lookalikes using that in interest-based targeting and filters, and how we're doing it, what we found that works, and just giving you a behind the scenes look of how to do that. So the first thing is for exclusion audience. So let's talk about those first. For an exclusion audience, if let's say you're doing an opt-in, it's for a webinar registration or for an event registration, you typically exclude all opt-ins. So it's a cold audience flat. So anyone who sees the ad isn't going to see the ad again if they opted in, which is a good marketing practice. That's still a standard, and I would still recommend that. We're finding that if you do too many exclusions, however, Facebook doesn't like that. We used to exclude fan pages and even people who've been pixeled on our website for the last 180 days. And I think Nathan sent that in as well. He's in the AOA in the group saying that he does that, and that does work in theory. But we found that it seems to limit the scale on Facebook. I still recommend testing it, but I also recommend not testing it and actually leaving it wide opening with only excluding opt-ins for your audiences. And for exclusions, again, I think the less restrictions that you put on Facebook, we're finding the best results with those. Because again, Facebook is like it's a brain that wants to have as much data possible. So the more restrictions you put on it, we're finding that Facebook doesn't perform as it could. Now, going into what Facebook calls advanced custom audiences is essentially what we want to do is I want to give you a framework of how to think about these audiences and testing new audiences that are working and how to grow past your 1% lookalikes. So the first thing I want to do is have you review your highest value activities in your funnel. So the first thing, obviously, the highest value activity for most funnels is either going to be a buyer or an opt-in, right? It depends if you're just doing a two-step, but let's say you're doing with a webinar where you're going from opt-in page to registration page to replay page, or to webinar page replay, and then to eventually adding to cart and eventually buying your offer. Pretty much those are the high value things. What I would do is I would set up an audience on every action that they've taken, something that they've had to do out of their way, either give you their email, either show up to the webinar, watch the replay, add to carts, and then purchase. And I would create lookalikes based off of those. One thing that I like to do when I create lookalikes is I actually like to create the 1, 2 to 3, or 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 5, and then either 5 to 10 lookalikes when I initially create lookalikes, because then I don't have to go back and create them again. So to do that, you essentially just get any custom audience. Say it's this one. And then just create lookalike. Let's put the states. I like to go down here to advanced options and then going to 4 and then just slipping them down to 10. So that gives me opportunity to use every range in this lookalike. I don't really go to 6, 7, or 8 or 9. You could do that if you're doing e-commerce, but typically with what I'm about to show you with some of the filters, it's not really that necessary. And also, I've had questions come in that if you want to set up a lookalike for all your countries that are targetable, like if you want to hit the UK and Australia and Canada, let's just put this here, UK. All the countries in Europe. Essentially, this is just a quick example. If you want to target, let's say, the United States only in an ad set, then you have to go to your ad set settings and in the country select US only. And we're going to show you that in a second. But again, this is how you can set up your lookalikes once and then be able to advertise and continue to create new ad sets, new audiences down the road without having to come back to square one and recreate that lookalike. It is going to save you time in the long run. But this is not what the advanced features are that I want to show you. Actually, what I want to do is I want you to think about your traffic in a very strategic way. So when people come to your website, Facebook allows you to segment those website visitors. And I'm going to show you how we've done it using 1%, 5%, 10% lookalikes, and using filters. So essentially, a simple audience that we can work with. Let's create a custom audience. Let's go to website visitors, website traffic. And here what we're going to do is we're going to actually use some of the drop-down menus. So we're actually going to do by visitors spent by time. So here what Facebook allows you to do is, like, if you have enough pixel data on your website, you can actually segment your top 25%, top 10%, top 5% website visitors. And what you want to do, since this is a really good filter, you want to do this for the longest amount of time. So in the last 6 months, I want my top, let's say 5% of traffic coming through. And if you want to you connect this to being with a buyer only, I only want top 5% of buyer traffic, then you got to add here, add specific web pages, and then put your purchase thank you or buy thank you. Whatever your nomenclature, your URL structure is, put it in here. So right now, what did we just do? We segmented not only our website traffic, the top 5%, but the top 5% who've actually purchased our product. You can do the same thing with people who've opted in, with people who've gone to your webinar, people who've added to cart, whatever high value activity someone does in your ecosystem, you can track it and you can filter them down. I would suggest doing a 5% and then a 25% of whichever ones you want. That'll give you a nice arsenal of a lot of audiences. So then the question is, what do you do with these audiences? So at the end of the day, you'll have, let's say you'll have a 1% lookalike of top 5% traffic of your choice, right? So you choose what type of traffic, if it's buyer, if it's opt-in, if it's cart traffic. You can also have a 25. So let me ask you this. If you have a 1% lookalike, again, think about this in lookalikes. If this is a 1% lookalike of your top 5%, let's say it's website traffic, just all pixel data. It's just this. You have a 1% lookalike of top 5% traffic in the last 180 days. That's a really filtered, very segmented audience. I would go with this audience as is, and this would be your new audience to test. Let's say you're doing a top 25% of your website traffic. So 25%, you can still test this, but I would like to filter them down just a little bit more, because it's also, it might as well be close to general retargeting, like just your pixel, no top percent, just anyone who's been pixeled in the last 180 days. For that, you can add some filters in the ad set, either doing people who've engaged with ads in the past, people who've done a high value action on Facebook, like our engaged shoppers, or people who are Facebook admins. Or you can also do people who've engaged with your page. So we're going to go into that and how I've set that up in one of our accounts, in one of our ad sets as well. But I'm just going to give you ideas, like what we want to think about these in the traffic in terms of our funnel, high value activities on our ecosystem, as well as what it's a high value activity outside of our ecosystem. You can also, so since we're doing 1% and 5% of website traffic, you can also, scale this or do this at a 5% lookalike of the top 5% traffic. Now this is a really big audience. Now I'm going to filter it even more. And I'd like to filter that either by income, by high value behaviors on Facebook. And we can do that without using the income filters. Now, I won't say don't use the income filters, but there's other ways of using income filters. For example, who is more likely, what's the highest value phone user? Is it an Android or an iOS? Well, of course it's iOS, because iPhones are at least $1,000 now, just for a brand new phone. So if I wanted to segment someone who has access to capital, either a credit line or has the cash to buy a new phone, which phone should I target? I would target the new iPhone 10, the 10, 10XR, the XRLS, all those cool, high value phones. So that's a way that you can actually filter and actually segment your audiences if you have big lookalikes to people who have either access to capital or access to credit. Right? Whole Foods is another one. People who shop at Whole Foods, Whole Foods is a little bit more expensive, or people who have Amazon Prime. Not every single family has Amazon Prime. Okay. And you can still do those income filters. So let's go actually into the ad set, where we're actually going to go in and I'm going to show you a 10% lookalike that we have, and then how I filtered it down using what I just showed you and how we're going to do that. So this is a 10% lookalike. in one of our traffic campaigns, believe it or not. So we're actually using traffic as a stack on top of our conversions campaign. So it's helping the entire ecosystem go up. This is a new campaign that we set up. We recreated it. So it's a 10% based on a buyer. So it's a high value. It's a high value action someone purchased. I filter them as an iPhone X user and an engaged shopper. Why? Because a 10% lookalike is really, really big. So I filtered it down to reach 1.6 million. So typically like a 1% lookalike. But I just went really broad. I want Facebook to go broad. I don't want to limit it with restrictions. So I filtered things down using a really big audience. So let me show you how we did that. So anyone who lives in the United States, of course, if this is lookalike, remember if this lookalike was created to do UK, Canada, Australia, Europe, and the US, if I only wanted to filter that the United States in this ad set, this is where I would do that. Okay. So again, creating one lookalike to target multiple countries. Saves you time. It's way easier, much faster. We did our age restriction here, and then I included just one simple behavior, someone who actually has clicked the Shop Now button in the last 7 days. You don't have to use this one. You can use any other behaviors on Facebook. So I would actually scroll through this and try to identify what in my market, for my ideal avatar, what's a really good behavior that would be high value for what I'm trying to help them serve them with the services that I have or with the products that I'm selling. So I would think about that. Then for placements, what I do, and I'm going to show you something that I hardly see anyone ever do, especially when we audit or review client work. So in the placements, I of course only filter to iOS devices, anyone who's had the iPhone 10 and up, because these are $1,000 iPhones. Okay, I don't worry about the OS version. That could care less. I care about the device. Okay, so no Android. But another thing, and this is what anyone can do, and you can do this actually right now, is I exclude categories for audience network. I exclude debatable issues, mature content, tragedy and conflict, dating, and gambling. If you don't have this set up already and you're targeting audience network, I'd highly advise you add these. But essentially, this is how you can see that we're coming up with, a really good mix, a really good arsenal of custom audiences based on high value activities. We're segmenting them either depending on filters that we have down here, engaged shoppers plus devices, or we're filtering them based on the quality of the traffic itself, either as 5, 10, or 25% of the highest data. Now, how does Facebook figure that out? I don't know exactly. I can't tell you the exact formula they use, but it works. Okay. So if you have any questions, any follow-up you need, any questions you have, just let me know.
All right, hey, if your business is doing $20,000 to $50,000 per month and you're kind of like stuck in this little spot there, you're running most of the things by yourself, you're doing pretty well, but you don't really have like a team built and you want to start scaling and you know that paid traffic's going to allow you to do that, but you're just kind of not sure how to get that whole thing working and how do you manage all of this along with everything that's on your plate. If that's you, then I've got something for you right now. What we've done is we put a program together that I call the Directive, and it's geared just for people like you that are in your spot right now. It's meant to help you get over that hump and be able to put the processes and systems in place that not only extend across to your paid advertising, but also into the back end of your business so that you can scale up your business to the 6-figure mark per month and beyond. That's exactly what this is designed for. And we've got a private group here that we've limited to 30 select entrepreneurs that are in that space right now where you're doing at least $20,000 per month and you want to start putting systems and people in place and start growing and scaling in a time leveraged manner using paid traffic and get to that 6-figure per month mark. We're able to help our customers rapidly get to that mark inside of this program that we call the Directive. Now, like I said, it's limited to just 30 entrepreneurs that fit this criteria. And even though you may have these base criteria here, we still may not be a good fit. So if you're in that spot and you would like to work with me and my team in a one-to-one manner on your ads, your offers, and your funnels, along with the back end of your business so that we can get you in that spot where we can take you from where you are now to 6 figures plus per month, then go ahead and click the link that we're going to put in the comments below this video, and it's going to take you out to a page where you can apply to talk with one of us on the team. You may talk to me, and you may end up talking to one of my other team members who is one of our qualified trainers, also an agency owner, very good friend of mine. We will only work with the best people. You may talk to me or one of those trainers, and we'll talk about your business and see if this is a good fit for you or not. We'll answer all your questions, make it real simple. Like I said, only if you meet that criteria. You got to be doing at least $20,000 per month, and you want to start putting systems and stuff in place so that you can leverage paid traffic and get to 6 figures per month. All right? So if you meet that criteria and you want to talk further, see if the directive is a good fit for you, fill out the form below. We'll get on the phone, talk with you, see if it's a good fit. If it is, we can talk about what it would look like to move forward so that we can help you more one-to-one, get to where you want to be. To the victor belong the spoils. This is Jason Hornung.